Caring for Kids God's Way, a biblical counseling certificate program in child advocacy developed by the American Association of Christian Counselors through Light University. Your ministry is to be a Galatians 6:2 helper. Ours is to equip you with the highest level of advanced training from the world's leading Christian counselors. 24 experts teaming up to create the most comprehensive child studies curriculum for the personal classroom. May the Lord bless your study as you begin caring for kids God's way. He's founder and director of the Amen Clinic for Behavioral Medicine, pioneers in nuclear brain imaging and assessment. He's authored over a dozen books, including Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, and Making a Good Brain Great. Caring for Kids God's Way presents Dr. Daniel Amen with Nutrition and Health.
Dr. Amen, is it really important what I feed my kids?
Absolutely. Your children are what they eat. Your brain actually makes itself new every 5 months. Your skin makes itself new every month. So literally, you are what you eat, and your brain controls everything. How you think, how you feel, how you act, how well you get along with other people has to do with the moment-by-moment functioning of your brain. So if your brain doesn't have the right fuel, it's going to struggle. Improving a child or a teenager's diet improves how they function.
Doctor, when the family goes out to eat, the kids always clamor for fast food, and frankly, I usually give in. Is that a problem?
You don't do that. I mean, if they always want to do something that's bad for them, good parenting requires supervision. So exposure equals preference. What kids are exposed to over time as far as their diet is what they're going to want. So putting a lid on always taking them to a fast food place is very important, and that's what good parenting is all about. It's training them to want the things that are good for them.
I have an 8-year-old daughter that is overweight. Should I put her on a diet?
Well, if your daughter's really overweight at 8 years old, her weight is going to give her significant self-esteem problems. Now, put her on a diet where you're putting carrots and celery only in her lunchbox. This is not a good idea. But getting her to exercise more and as a family eating healthier is probably the best thing you can do for her.
Dr. Amen, I noticed a lot of younger children that are overweight. Is that becoming a problem?
It's a huge problem in our society. Obesity in children has tripled over the last 20 years. Some states, 40% of children are overweight. As obesity has increased, so has diabetes increased, so has attention deficit disorder increased, and I think one of the main reasons because of how we feed our children. We're feeding them fast food that is high in calories, low in nutrition, and we're not teaching them how to eat right, how to maximize the nutritional value of the calories that they eat.
Dr. Amen, my son doesn't like to eat his dinner. Should I make him clean his plate?
Making kids clean their plate is a really, really bad idea. You're actually setting up eating disorder behavior in them. When my son was little, his mother used to hammer him to eat, and it really became this huge dinner time battle. I told this to my child psychiatrist supervisor. This was happening when I was in my child psychiatry training program. And her eyes got big, and she said, Dan, you got to get her to stop that because she's actually going to solidify an eating disorder in this child. And so I went home, and my wife rolled her eyes, psychiatrist, but I would kick her under the table. And this was the rule. This is what we're having for dinner. Eat it or not, I don't care. If you don't eat anything, you're not going to get something sweet for dessert. And so I had to really be firm with my wife. This is the rule. And it's so interesting. As soon as we put that into place, we stopped fighting at dinner, and he started to eat in a healthy way. So the rule should be, I'm not making you anything special or different. This is what we have for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Eat what you want or not. And you'll be amazed at how much better children eat.
Are there any no-no foods that should never be included on my child's menu?
You know, I often think of diets in moderation. Of course, you want to make the bulk of what they eat nutritious and healthy. I don't know if there are any absolute bad foods. Some kids are actually allergic to monosodium glutamate. It gives them headaches and it gives them temper problems and behavior problems. Aspartame, what's found in NutraSweet. Also, some kids do really poorly with it, but you have to sort of match the foods to a child's temperament. If they really don't have significant problems with those things, having them every so often is not a big deal.
What are the foods that are most important to feed children?
The foods that are most important for you to feed your children are lean proteins, proteins found in meat, eggs, and cheese. Better lean. Why? Because animal fat contains toxic materials. So toxic material is stored in the fat stores of our body. That's why you don't want to be very fat, because you'll have a bigger place to store toxic materials. Same thing is true in animals. So lean cuts of meat are better than fatty meats. But lean protein is absolutely essential, because protein are the building blocks for many of the organs in the body, especially the brain. Healthy fat. Low-fat diets are bad for the brain. But healthy fats, fats found in avocados, fats found in fish like salmon and tuna, fats found in nuts like walnuts, in oils and olives, those are good fats. And why do you need enough fat in your diet? Because 60% of the solid weight of your brain is fat. So we know high cholesterol will kill you. But you know, low cholesterol is associated with both homicide and suicide. So we need healthy fats in our diets, and complex carbohydrates. Carbohydrates that are found in whole grains, in vegetables, and fruit. Simple carbohydrates, like simple sugar, is not good for the body. It actually increases inflammation, one of the most common causes of joint disease and heart disease, and increases our seizure ability. So getting rid of most of the simple sugars in your diet, by and large, is a good idea.
My kids have lots of Kool-Aid and soft drinks. Is that okay?
Having a lot of Kool-Aid and soft drinks is a bad idea. It's not nutritious, and you want kids to get the most nutritional calories out of the foods that they eat. In addition, some kids do respond negatively to the dyes that are in Kool-Aids and other drinks. Soft drinks are just a bad idea in general. Why? Because there's no nutrition. In addition, they have caffeine. Caffeine not only is addictive, it decreases blood flow to the brain. In addition, it disrupts people's sleep. And the carbonation that's found in soft drinks not only leaches calcium from people's bones, it also acidifies their system, which increases the likelihood that they'll be sick. Better to give them water with a little tiny bit of fruit juice in it, lemons or oranges, than Kool-Aid or soft drinks.
I remember the food pyramid back in health class when I attended high school, and the food servings that were required for each day. Should I follow those guidelines?
The food pyramid actually was just recently changed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We are recommending now more whole grains, lean protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates. So the food pyramid is radically different than it was many years ago.
My child is gaining weight. Should I put him on a diet?
If your child's starting to gain a little weight, you want to think about, well, what's that about? It could be they're just getting ready for a growth spurt. Kids tend to gain weight before they grow in preparation for that. If you put them on a diet right when they're getting ready to grow, that could really impair their growth. The best thing for families to do is eat healthy. Exposure equals preference. What kids are exposed to is how they are likely to eat. Now, if you have a child that is significantly overweight, encouraging them not only to eat well, but to exercise is very important, because obesity in childhood goes with huge self-esteem problems as teenagers and adults.
Diabetes runs in our family. Is there anything that I can do to prevent my child from getting this disease?
If you have diabetes in your family, if there's a genetic predisposition to diabetes, it's very important how you model eating and how you feed them. People who are vulnerable to diabetes do so much better on a higher protein, lower simple carbohydrate diet. It helps to balance their blood sugar. So getting rid of the simple carbohydrates, pasta, rice, potatoes, sugar, white bread, and putting them more on whole grains, vegetables, lean protein, nuts, is so much better for them. You can delay the onset of diabetes years and years by putting them on a healthy diet and getting them to exercise, because when you exercise, your body uses insulin in a more effective way. I know many adults who are pre-diabetic who prevent themselves from going on insulin by simple dietary and exercise interventions.
My wife and I are planning to have children. Is there something that my wife can do before she becomes pregnant to ensure the child's health?
If you're just planning to have children, this is a critical time. Probably the most important time in your child's life is to get an environment, your body, ready to nurture them, which means stopping smoking, stopping drinking, stopping having too much caffeine, eating healthy, especially healthy fats, having multiple vitamin on a regular basis. Those things are just absolutely critical, as well as decreasing the chronic stress that you experience, because chronic stress or exposure to stress hormones actually kill cells in the memory centers of the brain.
Should I be giving my kids multivitamins?
You absolutely should be giving your children multiple vitamins. The American Medical Association recently reversed a 22-year position it had against multiple vitamins. We don't have balanced diets in our society, and giving someone 100% multiple vitamin every day helps to prevent chronic illness. There are studies on children that have ADD, for example, and the simple intervention of just giving them a multiple vitamin helped them do better in school. Your brain controls everything you do. It needs the proper nutrition or fuel in order to work right.
My child has just been diagnosed ADD and is on medication. Is there anything I can do with his diet to help?
If your child's just been diagnosed with ADD and you want to decrease the amount of medication they take, you can do a number of things. Get them to exercise. Exercise boosts blood flow to the brain, and I've seen it's one of the best natural treatments for ADD. Put them on a higher protein, lower simple carbohydrate diet. Get rid of most of the simple sugars in their diet. They will do better. Now, it doesn't mean you never give them ice cream or cookies, but when they have to study, it's much better if they get protein. They'll be able to study longer and actually need less medicine. So if they have homework when they get home from school, don't give them 4 Oreos and a Coke. It's nothing but sugar. Give them a string cheese or a handful of nuts and say, if you need something sweet, you can have it after your homework's done, after dinner, after your chores are done.
I've heard all kinds of different talk about milk. Is it good or bad to give it to my kids?
For some kids, milk is very important. It has vitamin D in it. It has some nutritious calories. You also get calcium in milk. Some people are allergic to milk, and it's very important to know if your child's one of those, that probably staying away from milk will help them significantly.
My children eat a pretty balanced diet, but they just love candy. Is that okay?
Well, my grandfather was a candy maker, and so I grew up eating candy, and candy's sort of a comfort food for me, but it's not nutritious for you. If you're going to have candy, limit it and make it after they've gotten their chores done, they've gotten their homework done, and so on.
Sure, it's a struggle to get the kids to eat their vegetables at dinner time. What can I do?
Well, try different vegetables. Some vegetables kids just don't like. Give me eggplant, I'm going to throw up. I still hate it. Now, our tastes do change over time. I like Brussels sprouts now, where before I would have hung myself before I ate them. But try different vegetables to see which ones they might like. Don't get nuts about it, though, where you're forcing them to eat, because that just encourages eating problems in them later on.
Cheeseburgers, chicken nuggets, and French fries. The kids really go for that. Can you suggest some healthy alternatives?
Yeah, I would eliminate chicken nuggets, hamburgers, pizza, and French fries from their diets by and large. There's virtually no nutrition in any of them. A lot of kids won't eat salads, but I think if you give them salads earlier in their life, they'll develop a preference for them. And salads made with spinach as opposed to iceberg lettuce, the difference in nutrition is just amazing. But I think of one of the healthiest lunches is a spinach salad that you put in blueberries and raspberries. They usually like that, along with almonds and some sort of protein, whether they like tuna or they like steak or they like chicken. Think of lean protein, stir fries. A lot of kids love stir fries, but don't give them much rice with it. So they end up with vegetables and lean protein. And when you cook in olive oil, because olive oil helps to increase the good fat in their diet as opposed to the bad fat in their diet.
Fast food industry is pushing their biggie meals, and my kids are always asking for them. Should I allow them to have it?
Obesity is clearly on the rise, and one of the reasons it's on the rise is because fast food places want to supersize everything. For 39 cents more, you can get 3 times the portion. That's really a bad idea. I mean, one of the reasons obesity is on the rise is because portions are on the rise, and weight gain is directly related to how many calories that you eat. So when someone asks you to supersize something, say no. And I'm also a big believer when you go out, split things. If you go typically to a restaurant and their portions are massive, well, have it feed 3 people rather than just leave it in front of one person.
Should I be concerned with the calorie intake of my children?
You and your child should have a good sense of how many calories that they eat a day. Obesity, again, is on the rise, and it's directly related to the increase in calorie intake. So having a good idea of what a portion size really is and how many calories in it is very important. People become fat because they eat more calories than they burn. That's really the essence of weight gain and weight loss. Are you eating more than you're burning, you're going to gain weight.
I raised my kids to eat right, but now as teenagers, they're really going for more junk food. Is there anything I can do about that?
Absolutely. Too often parents abdicate their role in nutrition for teenagers. If you feed them right, if you encourage them, if you talk to them about it, they are much more likely to eat in a healthy way. I developed a course for teenagers on how to take care of their brain, and one of the lessons is on nutrition. And it just amazed me how my teenage daughter really was paying attention to the information in the course, and she changed her diet based on new information that she had. You have a big influence on even your teenagers, so you need to use it in a good way.
Should I be alert to the type of food provided by my kids' school?
Yes, schools are notorious for serving poorly nutritious foods. Macaroni and cheese, chicken nuggets, French fries, pizza. I mean, come on. Lean protein, complex carbohydrates, healthy fat. Now, there are school districts across the country that are sort of getting the nutritional message: you are what you eat. Kids will do better in school if they eat healthy, and they're really working on revamping the diets at school. But when you look at the foods that schools serve, it's a wonder that kids can perform at all.
My kids hardly ever eat breakfast. Is it healthy to skip this meal?
Breakfast is very important. It not only jumpstarts their metabolism, but it gives their body the fuel it needs to have a balanced blood sugar and enough concentration for them to do well in school. People who don't eat till later in the day are often so hungry that what happens is they overeat. In addition, when parents do feed children breakfast, they feed them the wrong things. They feed them mostly simple carbohydrates and sugar. So if you think of Pop-Tarts and donuts and cinnamon rolls, sugar cereals and frozen waffles with liquid syrup on it, maple syrup, or pancakes. Those are not the right things to feed your children in the morning. Children need protein. In fact, there are studies with ADD children that say that children who get protein in the morning need less medicine throughout the day. So think of meat, eggs, and cheese. I mean, an omelet is such a better diet in the morning than a bowl of cereal.
Sugars and especially artificial sweeteners, are they okay for the kids?
Artificial sweeteners it's a big area of controversy. Many of us think that aspartame is quite harmful to a lot of people. I know for me, I used to be the Diet Coke king and would have a couple of them a day. And by the time I was 40, I had arthritis. My knees hurt, my hands hurt, and I thought, well, I'm just getting old. And then as I learned more and more about brain health and how many people are actually allergic to aspartame, I stopped it. And my knees didn't hurt anymore, and my hands didn't hurt anymore. And now I'm 51, and they still don't hurt. But if I decide, no, I just need a Diet Coke today, 20 minutes later my fingers will hurt. So I think you have to be careful. Now, there's no clear evidence that Splenda is harmful, but it's not been out nearly as long as NutraSweet. So I think the jury is still out. I think given the option, I would reach for the yellow packets over the blue packets. But I wouldn't do a lot of it because, again, exposure equals preference. And Splenda is hundreds of times sweeter than sugar. And you're actually driving them to require a lot of sweetness in order for anything to taste right.
Fresh or frozen vegetables, which are better for the kids?
Now, there's this myth going around that frozen vegetables are not as good as fresh vegetables, and that's actually not true because they are frozen at the time that they're picked, as opposed to broccoli that you'll buy in the produce department. Well, it may already be a couple of days old. So the way that they freeze vegetables actually makes them often healthier than what you'd get in the fresh vegetable section.
Dr. Ammon, is it okay to give the kids flavored water?
Flavored waters, if they also have sugar in them, is a bad idea because the sugar just adds calories without no nutrition. There's not enough calories from the actual fruit itself to make it very nutritious.
I can't get my kids to drink water. How important is that?
Water is essential to life. 70% of your body is water, 80% of your brain is water. Now, there are tricks to getting them to drink more water. One, don't have any soda at home. They're more likely to drink water. Take lemons and just squeeze lemons into the water. It'll make it tastier. Or oranges or strawberries. When you go to a health spa, I've always been very impressed by they have water with real fruit in it. no excess sugar. They don't need something to be super sweet, but just sweetening it a little bit with natural fruit is one of the best ways to get them to drink more.
My kids love peanut butter and jelly. Is it okay to feed that to them?
Peanut butter and jelly is a little bit of a double-edged sword. If you get the regular kind of peanut butter at the grocery store, it has sugar in it. Jelly, for the most part, is sugar on white bread, which turns to sugar in your mouth if you chew it long enough. But on the other hand, if you get natural peanut butter that has no sugar in it, if you get spreadable fruit, which is exclusively fruit without any sugar in it, on whole wheat bread, that's actually not too bad. So it really depends on how you prepare peanut butter and jelly, on whether it's junk food or health food.
Are sugar-free candy bars better for the kids to eat?
Sugar-free candy is a little bit of a double-edged sword. Many of them have maltitol in them, which is a sugar alcohol that doesn't have very many calories, but it upsets people's stomachs terribly, and the world is filled with more gas because of those particular sugars. So I don't know, I'm fairly negative on them. And there are other healthier snacks that kids can have, like almonds or walnuts or fresh fruit.
Is there any truth behind children being allergic to food?
Food allergies are very common. In fact, it's estimated up to 40% of people will be allergic to one food or another. If you see that they have dark circles under their eyes, it's a sign maybe that a food allergy is present. If they have chronic headaches, if they have tummy aches, if they have too much gas, if they have rashes, if they have mood swings, concentration, behavior problems, all of those may be an indication that they have intolerances to certain foods, and getting them checked out, often simple blood tests where you can check for food allergies, can be very useful.
And finally, Dr. Amen, I'm ready to start healthy cooking for the whole family. Do you have any guidelines?
Yes, I call them 7 rules. Dr. Amen's 7 rules for healthy nutrition. Eat right to think right. Rule number 1, water intake is critical. Increase your water intake. Get rid of the sodas, get rid of even fruit juices. Why? Because fruit juices are mostly sugar water. So your brain is 80% water. Being dehydrated decreases the effectiveness of how you think. So enough water a day is important, which means you have to do things to prevent dehydration. Did you know that caffeine is a diuretic? I mean, most people drink coffee. No, they spend the morning in the bathroom. It's eliminating water. That's not a good thing. Alcohol is a diuretic. A lot of people don't know that. So making sure you drink enough and don't do things that get rid of water. Rule number 2, watch your calories. Actually, people who go on a calorie-restricted diet tend to live longer. When we eat too much, the body stores the excess calories in fat, and fat actually stores toxic waste products. Give you an example. People who smoke marijuana is called fat soluble, which means marijuana actually goes into the fat cells in your body and it's stored there. So if you smoke pot today, we can actually measure it for up to 30 days later. Mercury and other toxins are also fat soluble, which means if you get exposed to them, they're going to be in your system a long time, especially if you have too much fat on your body. So watch the calories that you eat. A lean bodyer is a healthier bodyer. Number 3 is increase the good fats and decrease bad fats. You need some fat in your diet. In fact, people who are on low-fat diets often have an increased incidence of depression and anger, even suicide. So you need healthy fats in your diet, and they're best found from clean, fresh fish, avocados, nuts and healthy oils like olive oil or canola oil. Bad fats are fats found in animal products like in bacon or in fatty steaks, also in margarine. Margarine has something called hydrogenated fats, or another term for it is frankenfats, because it turns solid, if you will, at room temperature, and it's not good for your blood vessels. So increase good fats, decrease bad fats. 4 is increased dietary antioxidants. Antioxidants actually help prevent aging in your body. They decrease the formation of free radicals, which go and damage cells. So I often say eat from the rainbow, because different colored foods often are high in antioxidants. That doesn't mean Skittles, but it does mean, let's just think about it. What would have good antioxidants? So red bell peppers. In fact, red bell peppers have 3 times the level of vitamin C as green bell peppers. So go red, or orange or yellow bell peppers. Also blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, carrots, cucumbers, things that are of different colors. You want to put them in your diet. Remember, exposure equals preference. So if you're feeding your child this, the presentation of all these beautiful colors is appealing to the eye, but it's also appealing to make your whole body system work better. Number 5, get rid of simple sugars. Simple sugars are pro-inflammatory in the body, and they decrease the seizure threshold. They also make your blood sugar go up and down, so they make you tired and irritable. There's a study from Johns Hopkins University, actually 7 studies, where they looked at children who had seizure disorders. They found that by getting rid of the simple sugars in their diet, actually putting them on a ketogenic diet, which is like the Atkins diet, no simple carbohydrates, actually very few carbohydrates at all, decrease their seizure frequency by more than half. As dramatic as medication to decrease seizure frequency. So decreasing the simple sugars also decreases the risk of diabetes, and they get more nutritious calories, and so they're going to be healthier overall. So it means not very much candy, not very much in the way of cookies, not very much in the way of ice cream. And you find that you really can eat sweet without eating the simple sugars. One of my favorite desserts is plain yogurt. People go, oh, yuck. But put frozen blueberries in them. Mix it up, and it tastes like blueberry ice cream. It's got a wonderful flavor to it, and there's nothing bad in there for you. So there are many ways to eat in a healthy way. Another thing I like, or snacks that I like, there's a company called Just Tomatoes. And Just Tomatoes actually dries fruits and vegetables and doesn't put any of the poisonous sulfur in them. And so I get dried peaches and dried strawberries and dried bananas. And here you're just having the dried fruit without any of the preservatives that go with it. Principle number 6 is eat great brain foods. What do I mean? Lean protein, complex carbohydrates that found in vegetables and some fruit, and healthy fats. So when I think of the best foods for the brain, 1, water. Water is very important to keep yourself hydrated. 2, blueberries. In fact, blueberries are often called brain berries because they're so high in antioxidants, and they actually find that when they give blueberry concentrate to mice, that they are much smarter. Blueberries more than any other fruit. So blueberries, beans for their protein and their fiber. Oranges for vitamin C, and oranges are much better than orange juice. Better to eat the whole fruit than to have fruit juices. Broccoli is great for the antioxidants and for fiber. Oats oats for fiber and helps to balance cholesterol and blood sugar. Pumpkin. Now, not pumpkin pie, pumpkin squash, because it's very high in vitamin C, as are red bell peppers. Salmon. Wild salmon, not farm-raised salmon, but wild salmon, especially from Alaska, for omega-3 fatty acids. Spinach, very high not only in fiber but in antioxidants. Spinach is one of those great foods, and better to eat it raw than cooked spinach. Tea, especially green tea, has something in it called theanine that helps us to concentrate and also decreases anxiety. Lean turkey is a wonderful form of protein. Walnuts. Walnuts actually have 3 times the level of omega-3 fatty acids in them than almonds. So if you have a choice between walnuts and almonds, go for the walnuts. And yogurt is also a wonderful brain food. So there are many foods. I mean, think of the salad you could put together with a spinach salad with oranges and blueberries and red bell peppers, some sliced turkey and walnuts on it. I mean, you really, with a yogurt dressing, you really can eat in a very tasty way that makes your brain work better. 7, healthy supplements, a multiple vitamin every day. Because we do not have balanced diets in our country. And along with a multiple vitamin every day, I recommend to all of my patients to take a high-quality fish oil. And the reason for high-quality fish oil is it has in it omega-3 fatty acids that have been found to be low in ADD, low in depression, low in dementia, and low in people who try to kill themselves. And I think fish oil supplementation is very important, and have seen many of my patients get better. Their concentration's better, their mood's better, and even their coordination is better.